Hello and welcome to Security Insecure, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is a celebrity mental health podcast, or I say it's okay to not be okay. But if you have the same mantra as me, then before we get to today's guest, I need you to do me a favour. If you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe button, give a thumbs up, and leave a review to tell everyone it's okay to not be okay. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're listening, click that subscribe button or the follow button, leave a review and that 5-star rating. It's so important we spread the word it's okay to not be okay. Now let me tell you about my guest today. My guest today is the most famous captain in the world. She's a born leader, and as we record today's episode, she's celebrating her engagement to Leah Shafter. So I'm delighted to get the party underway as Below Deck Med returns to Hayu and her new book, Be the Calm or the Storm, is out to buy in all good bookshops now. I'm delighted to welcome to Security Insecure, it's Captain Sandy Yawn. And to start this conversation, she started reflecting on her proposal.
5 years ago, well, almost 5 years ago, I met the person that I knew I would spend the rest of my life with. For the first time in my life, I felt my heart beat as one, and it was with hers. And so living life with each other, learning and growing, it was time. Also, she wrote me a song and she kind of like drove the point home. And I thought, I better do it now before I lose this opportunity because I love her so much. And I would never want her to think that I wouldn't commit to her fully.
Well, I don't know if you remember, I met you both. I think it was last April, the April before, and you could just see that love there. You could see how much. And I was talking to Leah whilst you were on the radio, and she was so proud of you. And then you came off air and you were so proud of her. And you were both just about to start this podcast together that you were doing. And you could just feel that love. And I just think that's so special in today's society, especially where people can be so happy to say they're in love. Because a lot of time people go, the mother-in-law, the wife. You know, it's nice to actually see that love for once.
True love. Honestly, it's like every time I hear her car drive in the garage, I get excited like a little puppy. I get so excited. And we love each other. I also think when I'm away, there's like this romance that exists in that knowing that, oh my gosh, they're gone for 6 weeks. I'm going to see her soon. And it keeps it alive. I also think that travel's good, individual travel, that also helps. But if I spent every waking moment with her, I know I'd feel the same.
For someone like you, Captain Sandy, who obviously spends a lot of time on the bridge, quite isolated a lot of the time on your boats, you've had to get used to just being yourself and being in love with your own company. So how do you then get into a relationship and make sure you have your own time? Like you said, you're going on your charters and then coming back, but you, as you've just said, you could just be together and it's absolutely fine. So where's that balance for you?
Honestly, when we first got in the relationship, we both made it clear we didn't want a codependent relationship. We wanted our individuality within our relationship. So we're both really good at respecting that time. Leah has her friends. She goes and hangs out with them. Same with me. We have that security and we trust each other. So it's a healthy relationship. I believe that all the relationships I had in the past and all the learning I had to do prepared me for Leah today, and the same for her. Like we both talk about that. I've been prepared to now live a life with trust, honesty, integrity, grace, and all those things the components that it takes to make a successful relationship. Now we have, because we are older. Leah's turning 50 this month on the 27th, which is really great. And it's that love. It's a mature love.
Do you see it as like that new stage of your life? You know, you've done the leadership, you've led the boats, you've had your relationships, you've looked after other children as well, that now it's kind of come all together. And as you're a couple of years away still, and I hope it's okay to say, but you're nearly 60, that it's now like the next chapter and it will all come together now. And this is where you actually are living the best life you've ever lived.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And I will always be a captain. I will always go to sea because that's my love, my life. But yes, it is. We are older and it's incredible. Oh my gosh. For the rest of my life, I hope that I feel this way every moment I wake up. And I think the more experience you have in life, you go through your ups and downs. But then when you turn 50, those things that used to bother you don't, because you've lived half your life. And the next half of your life, you think to yourself, for me, it's like, I am not worrying about the little things. I am so okay with what happens. As long as it doesn't hurt anyone or myself, all is well in the world.
So what would you tell with that mindset, that 17-year-old Captain Sandy, who was just Sandy, who was going into rehab and was getting into a lot of trouble, and you had all these addictions, that one day, as I nearly get to 60, I'm going to find the love of my life and everything's going to actually just be okay?
Well, I would say trust. And like my mom said, I remember she was taking me to a fair and there was a $20 bill flying around in the car. And I was like trying to grab it. And she told me, slow down. And those words were so impactful. Just slow down, Sandy. And I was like, okay. Because sometimes when you slow down and you really take a moment, you see it in a different light. And I think that's what's happened for me. It took me a long time to slow down. And sometimes I have to remind myself to slow down. But now, at a 17-year-old mind, I would say trust the people who have gone before you and heed their advice.
Amazing. So, look, you love your music and you've got a music for everything. So, what soundtrack could we build for this? I want to know, first of all, what soundtrack could you use to talk about that trust and talk about where you are now?
Put a Little Love in Your Heart. I think Leah re-recorded that song. I play it over and over again. I love Pink's song, I Am Here. I have a big list. I'd have to look at my phone, but I play them every day. And I love that CeeLo song, F You.
Or forget you, obviously, is what you're trying to say, obviously.
Yes,
You know.
of course. I play that often. Sometimes when I get, in that mindset, but it's okay. I'm a human being.
And what about the song for your wedding? Have you thought about yet that wedding that you have been dreaming all these years to go, right, this is the song I want to walk down the aisle to, and this is what I want our first dance to be?
I have not, but you've given me something to think about. So I will think about that.
Well, I thought you've got a playlist for everything, Sandy. How have you not got this
Well, I
one
do.
yet?
I have a crazy mix. Honestly, I haven't given that song. Well, there's a song Till You Can't in my playlist that I have for Leah is Forever After All, Till There's Nothing Left, Amazed, Body on Fire. There's so many. Like I just Syrup and Honey. I believe she's from your part of the world. So there's so many. I'd have to think about it and really give it some thought.
Well, this is another interesting bit about you, Sandy, is that you've got ADHD. And so that thought process for you is very specific and everything has to have that certain routine for you. And I've got next week, actually, I've got a screening for ADHD diagnosis because I thought for a while, oh, I might have ADHD, I might have autism. And in England, it takes forever to get the screening. And I've actually got it next week. For you, you've had it your whole life, and obviously it's something that you're very used to now. But with that mindset, when it comes to ADHD, how has it impacted you? What are those traits that define the Sandy that we know on TV and also the Sandy off of TV?
In my industry, we're constantly multitasking. So to be able to pivot in those moments and focus on something else, we're arranging cars from Cannes to the marina. We have clients being tendered from shore to here. So not staying focused on one thing, but be able to focus on many different things at the same time is a superpower. And at the same time, it can also be very draining. And when you have to focus on the one thing, it's very difficult. So that's where I find my challenge. And that's where sometimes Leah will just grab my face and she'll say right here, because I have many different things going on at once. And that's the profession. I think also in production, they live the same type of life as we do, where it's like multitasking constantly. I believe my brain was trained that way in an early age where I could have it retrained now. And that's through the meditation and staying focused for 5 minutes on one thing, which for me, it's docking a boat, right? So I call zero focus because I'm not thinking about anything else. And I just turned it into a power instead of a defect. I have 4 things I have to work with my hands in order to move the boat. The bow thruster, which goes left and right, the gears, which go forward and reverse, and then the rudder, which left or right. The rudder has to go all the way to the right as the bow thruster goes to the left. One gear goes forward, one gear goes in reverse. Sometimes in that moment, I have to look down and look at the rudder and make sure my gears are positioned correctly. And that's what I do because the wind impacts your mentally, right? So you have the wind blowing and you're looking at the bow, you're looking down the side. So there's all these things running through your mind. But then I go, am I correct here for my movement? And I've taken a pause. And that's where I learned to pause. In diving, they teach you to stop, breathe, and then make your change, right? First, you got to stop, take your breath, and then you assess. Same thing what I do. I use that tool, stop, breathe, and I assess, and then I make my correction. And then after I succeed, you know what my first thing is I do? I go, where's the ice cream? Because I want ice cream. And so I'll go, like in Saint-Tropez, everybody sees that docking. The first thing I did, the showrunner runs up. She goes, oh my God, that was amazing. There's so many people on the dock. She goes, how do you feel? What do you want to do? And I go for ice cream. So we walked off the boat and we went for ice cream. And that's really truthfully it, because I don't have this, oh, I did it. It's like another day at work. And now I'm in the port where I have my favorite ice cream shop. So we went for ice cream.
Oh, I love that. I love that. But that's also something that's very interesting about the idea of that pause and how special that pause is, because it gives you that chance to take perspective. And one of the reasons I absolutely love you, and I think you're an amazing leader, and something that I've already learned, is just not to be so impulsive, because there's the emotional side of you and then the factual side of you. And it's very easy to go straight with the emotion and get into an argument or to be really offended, rather than take stock and go, pause. Just wait and just assess this situation. Is it as bad as you think it is? Has anyone died? Or in a case like yours, when you're being a leader, going, I've made mistakes. Actually, instead of making someone feel worse, how about I actually empower them and say, look, this mistake's happened. I might have made that mistake before, but next time, this is what you're going to do.
Yes, exactly. So it's through podcasts like yours, how people learn, right? So you're interviewing me. You read a book. How I learned was learning through someone else, right? And if you don't have the tools and you're not aware of that pause, how will you know to pause? It's through this that you learn to pause. It's like, okay, I'm in this moment. I'm getting ready to make this critical decision. Why don't I just take a minute or a few seconds and pause, reassess, and then act or respond? And that's the beautiful thing with podcasts, reading books, and educating yourself. And it's taking those moments in time for yourself to be a better human being for yourself, because it really impacts you first before you impact others. And that impact, whether good or bad, negative or positive, really starts here in your body, in your language, your body language and your verbal language. And that's how we deliver it out there. And that's what I think, if I can correct this here and I can pause and take this, then I can share that with others. And that's the awareness. And then the responsibility on my end is taking what I've learned and help others. And that's really what empowers me.
Well, that pay it forward that you've done with Malia over the years, and hopefully one day we'll see her as a captain on a boat. I'd like to see Below Deck Asia, and I'd love to see her as a captain, to go, look how full circle it's gone, and look where we started, and look at what she was getting up to in the olden days of Tom, and then look at her now and how much she's developed. And that's all thanks to you.
Partly me, but she's done the work, right? So she's, you know, remember that conversation from my first season with her. So all she wanted to do was be a dive instructor on a dive boat. She never wanted to pursue yachting. Something I said to her or something she read that night made her think about a career in yachting and pivot from being in Hawaii on a dive boat to learning super yachting. I feel that as a human being who has had people help me get to where I am today, it's my job to pay it forward. And that's exactly what I was doing. But I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I saw the potential in Malia. Also, Wes was on that same season. And I'm looking at Bobby now. Bobby's in sales. He's killing it. He's selling boats. And I'm just so proud of him because he was a firefighter all the same season. So those people, Wes is now a captain. Malia's on that road. And let's look at Joao. Like, he is now a captain. He has command of a 40 meter. You know, he's a captain now, and that's really great. Like, I gave him that opportunity to dock, to take the helm of a super yacht, to stand behind him and give him that opportunity. The same thing I did for Malia. And that's what it takes to inspire people. Every season I have, if I can give them that opportunity at the helm, I'm going to.
And also, we can then see, for example, with Joel, who you've just mentioned, he then becomes the bosun on Below Deck Australia just now of Captain Jason. And again, that help that you gave him just gave him that little foot up to go off, do what he needed to do, and then come back to a series like Below Deck and then go up a rank and not just stay where you are and stay complacent.
Yes, that's exactly it. And now they see there's a career here and they pursued it. And that work is on them. They did the work and they continue to do the work. It's that little inspiration that you give someone that makes all the difference in their future.
Well, you've spoken about 4 people and how their futures have changed with you. The next lineup of Below Deck Med is out now for season 8, as we said goodbye to Captain Jason and Australia last week. So Toomey, Kyle, and Natalia are back. Plus Luca, who we just had in Australia at the end of the series, is coming over as well. This is why I love Below Deck, because I'm like, oh my God, it's all my friends. They're back again. What can we expect this season? And what's it like to have them all back on your deck, as well as obviously some new people as well?
Yeah, well, having Toomey is awesome. Luca's, it's so cool to be able to do that crossover because it's interesting. They've worked for a different captain. Now they're coming over to work for me. What is that experience like for them? I never really put that in my head. And then I hear stories from them. It's like, oh, this is what I learned from you, where I didn't learn from there. And I'm sure they learned other things from the other captain they didn't learn from me. And that's really cool. I think what you can expect to see is a very colorful Italy, a beautiful country that offers fantastic food and experiences ashore with these beautiful villages, Portofino being one of them. Also, you can see in the trailer where I get very upset with one crew member, like, obviously, I wonder who that is. So there's that little teaser. At the same time, to be able to watch it on Hayu, honestly, I think Hayu's done a great job in marketing our show. I mean, our faces were on the buses, the big red buses. That's pretty cool. So at the same time, it's like, I love the United Kingdom. I love the people here. I love being here. And I can't wait to see the season with you because I don't know what's going on until I watch it.
And it's also very interesting what you just said about the fact that you don't know how other captains have worked when it comes to the Below Deck franchise, because last year, Captain Lee went off sick of the main series and then you stepped in and the crew didn't really know how to react. But then afterwards, when you'd only done a couple of weeks, you came off the boat and their whole way had changed. The way they looked at themselves, the way they looked at the boat had completely changed thanks to you. And then they could show Captain Lee, look, we're a good sort. We know how to do it.
Yeah, because, honestly, when you step on someone else's boat, it's always hard. But at the same time, I knew my primary goal was to provide a level of service for the client. And if I see that that's not happening, then I have to tweak it a little bit. And you do that, you try to do that with finesse, where you empower people. But then there's the other part where I had to fire a few people. One of the firings should have happened earlier. However, it happened later. I think that Camille may have stayed on board if I would have done it sooner, because I don't know if Camille was the problem after watching the series.
Well, what's the rule and the line about that when you are firing? Because this is your crew. Obviously, you've got to keep safety. Obviously, you're running like a 7-8 star hotel on a little boat. But obviously, it's a TV show as well. And they've signed up to do a TV show and they're under a contract to do a TV show. So when you fire them, they're off your boat, but are they off the TV show completely? And what's that line there?
No. So basically when they're signed on, so they sign on to the vessel's fully responsible, right? So I'm responsible for them. When they sign off of the vessel, they have their own contract with Bravo or whatever network. So they have to abide by that contract going forward with interviews and social media and, all that. So I don't know that part. That's between them and the network. I'm just there doing my job as a captain on the boat. So when they're signed onto the vessel, I'm in charge. No one else is. Just me.
And the most amazing fact about this, which I absolutely love from your book, Be the Calm or Be the Storm, out to buy now, is that Norma is real. So obviously you always get the captain saying, text, I need more crew. And you go, Norma. And I'm, oh my God, it's actually a real person. I thought it was a machine or something.
No, she's real. In fact, Norma Treese founded the first crew agency ever. So her company was Crew Network. She founded it and created 5 satellite offices across the globe. Norma has a memory like no other. She remembers, she has a photographic memory. She can tell you what you had for dinner like 2 months ago. And she's really invested with crew. She knows everybody and she vets them. So we call Norma.
That was Captain Sandy Yawn. Below Deck Med is available to watch on Hayu now, as well as Captain Jason on the 2 series of Below Deck Australia and Captain Lee, the OG, on Below Deck, the main series. And if you love your reality TV, Hayu is the place you really need to go to. And my absolute massive thanks to Poppy Alexander and the team at Hayu for setting up that interview, because I absolutely love Hayu. I love it for the Real Housewives series. I love it for Summer House. Also, Winter House is coming with Malia White from Below Deck as well. It's the best place. I love having a binge. And this is why we love reality TV. It's desertification. It means you can switch off from all the problems in everyday life and go and focus on other people. And you can focus on other people by focusing on Sandy. Because Captain Sandy's Be the Calm or Be the Storm is out to buy in all good bookshops now. Go and buy it. It's a great book about how to be a leader. You've been watching or listening to Security and Secure, the podcast with me, Johnny Seifert. If you like what you heard, if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Please do give that subscribe button a click and also leave a comment and a thumbs up rating. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere you're listening to your podcast, give a 5-star rating and a review. And let's keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. And make sure you click that subscribe button because I'm always giving you new interviews with new celebrities and reality stars or authors to tell you their journeys so that you know it's okay to not be okay. On social media, at Johnny Seifert 92 on TikTok, on Instagram at Security and Secure Podcast and at Johnny Seifert, and on Twitter at Johnny Seifert is where you can find me. Let's keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. I'm Johnny Seifert. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.